Representative Joe Crowley is the fourth most powerful Democrat in the country. He's up there in leadership. And he went on MSNBC to discuss the fact that other prominent Democrats, in fact, the fifth in line Democrat, is critiquing Nancy Pelosi and critiquing Democratic leadership in general and saying, okay, it's time for you guys to step aside because we keep losing with you in power, and I think it's time for some fresh faces and a change. So Joe Crowley steps up to be his little, to play his servile establishment role, and let's see what he had to say.
The Democrats obviously want to retake the House, and if they can, the Senate as well in 2018. Nancy Pelosi is a lightning rod. The Republicans use her pretty effectively to rally support among their voters to get them to vote for Republican lawmakers. Are you concerned that she will be a liability for 2018 when Democrats could have a real opening to retake both houses of Congress, at least one of them?
Katie, I've heard that argument used so many times before, and I think it really reflects the sexism that still exists in politics today. I think Nancy Pelosi is held to a different standard than others are. The vilification of her in a very sexist way, quite frankly, is what's led to this discussion. What I think Nancy Pelosi, as I said before, is one of the smartest and hardest working members of our caucus. And what we need to be doing right now as a caucus is focusing on the issues that will advance the cause of the American people. And I think it will also lead the American people to believe and understand that Democrats should be in control of the House of Representatives.
There it is. It's back. McFeminism, ladies and gentlemen. That's the feminism that's as real as the meat and the chicken nuggets. All she says is, hey, look, Nancy Pelosi, she's used as a punching bag by Republicans who are running, and it works. They go, yeah, we despise Nancy Pelosi. She's the kind of limousine liberal who's out of touch with the working class, and it comically so, has been in leadership for a long time. There's been over 1,000 losses under her leadership and under Barack Obama as president. And so you have Katie Tur saying, hey, she's a liability. So, that's just a fact. Like, okay, you haven't done well under her. She's a liability. And what's his response? That's sexist. What is sexist? What part of that is sexist? There's no part of that that's sexist. You have no rebuttal, so you short circuit and go, that's sexism. Nah. This is exactly like the primary when people would say, hey man, I'm not sure I'm on board with Hillary. She voted for the Iraq War. She voted for the Patriot Act. She orchestrated intervention in Libya. She's for intervention in Syria. She was okay with NAFTA and outsourcing jobs, okay with Wall Street deregulation. There's a lot of questionable stuff in her record, so I'm not sure I'm on board with it. And the rebuttal was what? Sexism. Or my favorite one is when people said, hey, she's really close with Wall Street. I mean, look at the amount of money that she's taking from Wall Street. She gave 2 speeches and got over $600,000. I'm concerned about that. We went, oh, so when a woman takes money from Wall Street, then it's a problem? No, the same people who were complaining about Hillary taking money from Wall Street are the same people who were complaining about it when it was Barack Obama and every other candidate, whether on the right or the left. So it's a deflection, it's obfuscation, and it's smearing you because there's no rational, coherent response. And the problem with Nancy Pelosi is that she's a proven loser, and she's an out-of-touch corporate Democrat. So at a time when more and more people in the party, it was about 72, now it's over 118, all these people are coming out in support of Medicare for All. And that has a lot to do with you guys, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, National Nurses United, everybody on the populist left, Our Revolution, Fight for 15, pushing members of Congress, hey, do this or else. Nancy Pelosi is still steadfast in her opposition to Medicare for All. By the way, a policy that over 80% of Democrats support. Over 60% of the country supports it. Over 80% of Democrats support it. And one of the leaders in the Democratic Party is like, I don't know. I'm not sure the American people are there yet. That's what she said. She said, I'm not sure the American people are there yet. Well, maybe you should read a goddamn poll. Maybe you should do that. But the reality is, it's not that, hey, she has an ideological or philosophical disagreement with single payer. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that she's beholden to the donors. And she even admitted it. She said, look, you guys can't get rid of me as a leader. I'm a great fundraiser. That's what she said. And then she said, unfortunately, that's the system we have. So in other words, deep down she knows, hey, these big donors and these corporations and these billionaires, they really affect politics and affect politicians and the direction that we go in. But yeah, that's the system we have, and I'm great at that system. I'm one of the best fundraisers. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So that's an admission right there. Sure, I sell out the most to big donors, so I raise a lot of money, but hey, you can't get rid of me because that's important. Well, what if I told you, Nancy, it's not important? What if I told you this is a very Hillary Clinton-esque argument of, well, it just is what it is and we can't change it, so in the context of this system, I'm great. But the system is cancerous. The system is the problem. You have to reform the system and be bold enough to even want to try, but you don't even want to try. You want to say, well, I'm good at playing the game as it exists. But that's the fucking problem, is that you're good at playing the game as it exists. So you raise more money from big donors and you do their bidding more, which is why you're not in favor of single payer. So, I mean, these guys, man, I got good news for you, though. And this is, like, we can all breathe a sigh of relief here. That guy who you just heard use classic McFeminism, which, by the way, is grotesque and disgusting, not only because it's wrong, but also because it cheapens actual issues of sexism. Because it's boy who cried wolf all day long. It's so sexist, but that's not sexist. And then when something actually sexist happens, you've now made regular people roll their eyes and go, here we go again. You're going to say that's sexist. But guess what? Joe Crowley, the Democratic leader who you just heard use McFeminism there and dodge important issues, Justice Democrats are primarying him. It was one of our earlier candidates that we announced. So Alex Ocasio-Cortez is running against corrupt Joe Crowley. Joe Crowley, by the way, is a guy who not only does he just use McFeminism, he also dipped out of a congressional debate on regulating Wall Street to go raise money from Wall Street. Wow. I mean, that is so brazen. But that's the thing. He got so comfortable. Oh, it's so comfy up here in Democratic leadership, taking big money. Oh, this is so great. Oh, did you critique Nancy Pelosi for corruption and for being a terrible politician? You must be sexist. Well, Joe, as long as we're using McFeminism here, why are you still in the race if Alex Ocasio-Cortez is running? You do realize she's a woman, right? And you're going to stay in the race against a woman? Well, I guess you must be sexist. It's so sexist of Joe Crowley to say, hey, here's a woman and a woman of color, Joe, who says, maybe it's time for you to step aside and maybe it's time for new leadership. Female voices, voices from minorities. What happened, Joe? By your own standard of invoking sexism when there's even a mild critique of a woman for legitimate reason, by your own standard, this is definitely sexism. So please spare me your garbage arguments. And the reality is, it's not that you should support Alex Ocasio-Cortez simply because she's a woman or a person of color. You should support her because she supports Medicare for all. She supports free college. She supports a living wage. She supports getting money out of politics. She's taking no corporate money and no PAC money. So she's raising money only from you, regular people. And that's the way to guarantee that these politicians don't lose track of why they're running in the first place. Nice random noise from the computer. But that's the only way to guarantee that happens, is you build it into the incentive structure. And the reality is, if our politicians for Justice Democrats only raise money from regular people, take no corporate money and no PAC money, they're going to represent regular people, which is why we need you. if you're sick of this McFeminism garbage and you're sick of Joe Crowley hiding behind stuff like this to keep pushing a corrupt agenda, go to justicedemocrats.com/fight. Let's get Alex Ocasio-Cortez in there. Guys, nobody's going to help us. The media is not going to help us. She didn't even push back Katie Tur when Joe Crowley was like, meh, sexism, because Nancy Pelosi doesn't believe in single payer and is massively corrupt and cozy with Wall Street and has a losing record. But it's sexism to bring that up. The journalist didn't even say, well, that's ridiculous. Didn't happen. So they're letting Joe Crowley go on all the major media outlets and spew bullshit all day long. So the only ones who are going to save us is us. Is us, are us. The only ones who are going to save us are us, is us. Whatever. You get what the fuck I'm saying. So go to justicedemocrats.com/fight. Make your donation. We have 16 Justice Democrats who are running, and we're trying to do as much as possible, man. Trying to do as much as possible, run as many candidates as possible. We want to win every single race that we're in. One of our biggest races, though, is against this jackass, corrupt Joe Crowley. And that's one of our biggest races. Joe Manchin, Paula Jean Swearengin running against Joe Manchin, one of our biggest races. Let's get people who are populist left elected and get rid of clowns like this